Welcome everybody to Write Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers.
Hi, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we have quite the guest.
That's
Today
exciting.
Today we got to interview Pinar Tarhan and talk about productivity and specifically alternative productivity tips.
If anyone knows about that topic, productivity and time management, it's Pinar Tarhan.
Yeah, she is amazing. We think you're going to love our conversation with her. First, we are going to read some call to action responses. And then when we get back from our interview, I'm going to try to stump Jon Meyers. And
Yay.
We're going to have something different.
Something different called the final act.
The final act, the new name. Goodbye, mystery bag.
Because Emily killed Baggy.
I'm so sorry.
We had to replace it with the final act.
Are you going to tell them what it is, or is it going to be a surprise?
I'm going to surprise them at the end.
Awesome. Oh, and something important that I should have mentioned earlier is that this episode is only going to be the first half of our interview. And then we'll get the second half of the interview in our next episode.
Wow.
How'd you get out of your bubble this week, Jon Meyers?
So I'm going to use this section of this podcast to actually teach a lesson in storytelling as I tell you about how I got out of the bubble.
Okay.
So to answer your question, notes. I went to I'm sorry, I talked over you. What was that?
I said I'm taking notes. So far we have I went to, so that's a subject and a verb.
Perfect. So I went and
never heard you speak like that.
here's version 1. All right. Version 1 is I went to the recyclery and came home with $8. There you go.
What?
It's what I did. Has a happy ending. There you go. That's version 1. Here's version 2.
Hey.
In version 2, I'm on my way to the recyclery every quarter. So every 3 months, I recycle. I don't drink pop anymore. I only drink water. And but my water comes in cans. You see me drink out of this Slim Chickens cup, but that's because it has ice in it. But this is what I actually drink. If you want to sponsor us, I drink 17.
Yes, please give us some free sparkling water, please.
And so, rather than throw them away, environment, I take them every 3 months to the recyclery. And the other day, I'm driving on the way to the recyclery. They are all on the wrong side of the tracks, people would say. And there's 5 different recycleries all on the same road. And so it's just like, it's Junk Island. It's like from we talked about Isle of Dogs. That street is just junk, recyclery, metal everywhere. And I always go to the same one. I don't know why I chose that. They all pay about the same, but it's the one I always went to. And it has they all have some form of drive-through, but this one has like a legit drive-through, like at a fast food place. And you just pop open your trunk, they get the stuff out, and you don't do anything, and then they give you money. And
they pay you?
Yeah.
I've never been paid for recycling.
Yeah. So
I know people who collect it out of the bins.
Yeah, you could. So yeah, they pay you for your cans. And I said I came home with $8. And so they don't do like paper and newspaper or plastic. But they pay for aluminum, they pay for metal, they pay for appliances, like if you have a broken air conditioner or whatever. Anyway, so on the way there, I'm driving as one does, and I hear a commercial for not the one I'm going to, but for a different one. And it's their 15th anniversary. As part of their 15th anniversary, every 15th customer, they give you an extra $15. So, of course, I'm going to go try to do that. The catch is, at this point, it was like 12:30, and they only do that from 8 to 1. I don't know why, but they're open till 4. All of them are open the same hours. They're all open till 4 or 4:30. But every 15 customers on that day got $15 between 8 and 1, and so it was like 12:30. No problem. I was going to get there before then. But I had not been to that one before. And so I pull in. First of all, it's spotless. It's unlike any of the other ones. Obviously, there's smushed up cans and cars, but they're all way off in the distance. Where you actually drive in, the part the customer sees, it's spotless. It's like as clean as Disney World. It's like totally spotless. And so, but I don't know where to go or where to take these cans. And so I see a flatbed truck on a scale, and he's got like 2 washing machines, a refrigerator, and 3 air conditioners or whatever. And so they're weighing it with all the stuff on it. And then these workers come and they take the stuff off, and then they weigh the truck, and then that's how much the difference between the two is what he got paid, right? So I'm waiting behind that, but he's at some point he gets out of the truck and he goes inside this building. And so I'm like, maybe I'm supposed to go inside the building. And so I go inside the building, and totally nice lady. And she was like, what do you have? And I'm like, I just have cans. And she's like, oh, well, that's a different area at the other end of the parking lot. So I go to the other end of the parking lot, and I wait there for the worker that was helping get the stuff off the washing machines and all that stuff. So there were 3 workers over there. One of those workers comes and gets my cans, weighs my cans, gives me a little ticket, says, take it back up to the office that I was just in, and she'll give you your money. So I do all that. I drive back over to the little office, and I go in, and the guy who was with the washing machines and the refrigerator and all that, they're taking his picture because he just got $15 for being the last 15th customer of the day. Had I gone to the little weigh station for cans in the first place, and not waited behind that guy or gone in and asked a question, if I just went straight directly there and came in, I would have been the 15th customer. and so I came home with my $8. So that was version 2. Tell me why version 2 is a story and version 1 isn't, and not because it's longer. They all had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So why?
Yeah, so the first one, it was more like it's not even a log line because there's no, a log line leaves mystery.
Correct.
It's like maybe we've all heard of the shortest short story ever by Hemingway,
Yeah.
right? What is it?
The
You
baby
know
shoes
it?
one?
Yeah, the shoes one.
Go ahead and say it because I don't know it exactly.
For sale, baby shoes never worn. There's an emotional, it actually doesn't even really have a beginning and an end, so you could argue that it's not a story, but you could also argue that there's a story behind the sentence, whereas what you said, there's not even really a story behind the sentence because you've given everything away. It's all there, but there's no, why did you need, like, why did you go there? What was your need? Did you satisfy that? Like, what was your journey as a character? Did that
So the
answer the
Hemingway
question?
example, that becomes a story because what we bring to it, right? The
Yes.
meaning that we bring to it, which we'll talk about that in a different episode of meaning.
Sure.
But yeah, and but yes, a strong yes. So the first version, it had a beginning, a middle, and end. So does the second one. So a story isn't beginning, middle, end. They both have a
Right.
beginning, middle, and end. The first one had a happy ending. $8, right? As far as you knew, I was happy, right? The second one ended in disappointment,
Yeah.
but it's still a story. But it was a story,
Yeah.
because it had emotional closure to the story. And so just because it has a happy ending and a beginning and middle and end doesn't mean it's a story. A story
Yeah.
needs protagonist. So they both had that because I went to the recyclery. It needs a goal. So I had a goal to help save the environment and get my $8. And I had a secondary goal in a bigger goal to try to win the $15 that I heard on the radio on the way there. And then it had obstacles. The guy with the washing machines and refrigerator, and that was an obstacle. And what's the fourth thing it had?
A ticking time bomb.
It had a ticking time clock, and because
you had to be there at that exact time.
And so he was the last one. Like there was like 5 minutes left, so there was no way I could have driven around the block and 15 more people would have come. So he was the last 15th customer of the day. So yes. All right, what were you?
And also,
say?
As an audience, the first one, there's no suspense or questioning or journey for the audience either. Whereas the second one, I'm going, okay, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it in time? Is this interruption going to... So I'm kind of following along with you in that.
That's the power of the ticking time clock. Is he going to make it on time?
Yeah.
And so you're invested. You're invested as a listener to the story. That's all. That was how I got out of my bubble.
I love it. I was going to say I didn't get out of my bubble at all. What I didn't tell you about my Indianapolis trip was that I got to visit my friend's church, cool. Which was really, really cool. It's always neat to me because I went to the same church for a long time. And so whenever I go to different ones, I learn something new about, oh, I've taken this for granted and never considered this. For instance, one of the things that they did differently was that the first 10 minutes of worship, everybody had their kids with them. Kids were there. Kids were in the worship. It was so sweet, so adorable. And there were so many young little bitty kids, and it was really, really sweet. So I got to experience that new environment, new way of doing things. And then we got to have lunch afterwards, which was really nice.
Did they have communion?
They did, yeah. Which not everyone does every week. But I think the way that they did it made me think that they do it every week.
And it obviously wasn't enough because you were still hungry to go to lunch. Was my
still
point.
So hungry. Yeah.
No. So how do they do their communion there?
They did it where you walk up to the front and then you grab a little piece of bread, you tear it off, and then you dip it in the drink.
So we also do rip and dip. And did you know that's called intinction?
Yes.
You did. All right. So there, listeners, you learned a new word today. However, I'm a germaphobe, and so intinction is not my favorite form of communion, although I don't believe that churches should argue about how it's observed as long as it is observed. So we have, for gluten-free people, we have off to the side gluten-free wafers that are sealed in little containers. Yep. And so that's perfect for a germaphobe, even though I'm not gluten-free. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it's neat seeing other ways of doing things. Like we just had Ash Wednesday. Well, when I was in grad school, I was teaching during Ash Wednesday and I couldn't go to my church. And so I went with my friend to her Catholic church and I got to experience Catholic Ash Wednesday, and it was very cool. So I just love, I love seeing how people do things differently.
Because they're all different. Yep. All right, what's next?
All right, we have response to one of our calls to action.
So in a previous episode, we told the story about how this is church day on this episode. We told the story about how a guy named Joseph, but one of the many Josephs in the Bible, but this guy is also in history books. Got his name as Barnabas. I'm not going to tell the whole story now, so you can go back and listen to that. And so we asked our listeners and our viewers, if your hometown named you for your most positive personality trait, Barnabas meant generous benefactor, what would your name be? We should do afterthoughts about that.
We really should, yes.
Shouldn't we? So stay tuned for that someday. So Alison Rayner in Tenby, Wales, flew all the way across the pond to answer this question for us. And here she is. No. She says, that's a hard one. I have a determined can-do attitude, and I'm usually good with follow-through. The closest I can find is that I'm dedicated to this, such as Matilda, mighty in battle.
Mm.
So watch out. Watch out for Alison because she's mighty in battle.
Nice.
I could go on for another, which I won't, 10 minutes about uh, being armed for battle but not ready for war. Maybe that's
Ooh,
a separate
that's
episode
good.
of something. All right, what's
Yeah,
next?
I don't know if Matilda is a name I could give myself. I think it's an interesting challenge because the things that I would say about myself are not as probably as positive as the things other people would say. You know how they always think like what it would like sometimes you need to hear other people say something about you because you're so hard on yourself. So when I do mine, I'm going to have to like really think about it subjectively
Or ask
or
people.
objectively.
Like if we record it next week, you have a week you can when you get out of your bubble because you've
Yeah,
been so
eventually.
contained due to your illness that you can ask people, how would you just
Yeah,
what
how
kind
would
of
you
name
just
would you give me?
Yeah,
There
it's a
you
good
go.
question.
Now what?
Now, without further ado, here is our interview with Pinar Tarhan.
And she's talking about the big idea of alternative viewpoints on time management and productivity. And there you go. Let's watch it. Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I am Jon Meyers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers. Look, everybody, it's Pinar Tarhan.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Where'd she come from?
What?
Where are you, Pinar?
Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm in Istanbul, actually.
Oh.
Yes, what's the time difference there?
It's now like after 9 p.m.
Okay,
And
yeah, so here it is 1 p.m.
Istanbul, not
So
8 hours.
Constantinople. Go. Emily has a
Yes.
bio to read.
Very good. You know it.
So we are so excited to have Pinar on with us today. She is a rom-com novelist, freelance writer, and blogger. She loves creating short, escapist, and fun ensemble romances that even men enjoy. Her nonfiction work has been featured on CNN, The Washington Post, Thrillist, and Wow, Women on Writing. She is also passionate about glam metal, movies, TV series, reading, beach vacations, and traveling. She speaks 2.75 languages, which I need to ask about, and is currently working on her fourth rom-com novel, A Change Would Do You Best, the third and last book in the A Change Would Do You Good series.
Welcome.
So, welcome.
Hello.
Emily has to ask about the
Hi.
languages first, so let's get that out of the way.
2.75.
Okay, so English and Turkish are each one, right? And I speak a little bit of Norwegian, some German, and some Italian. But when you combine it, I can't call them one yet.
Yes,
I'm not at the level.
I love that.
I know some stuff. Yeah, so I'm just calling them 2.75, and hopefully one day it will be 5 or 4. But I'm trying. Currently, I'm working more on Norwegian.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Nice.
Which one are you working on now? So
Norwegian.
And is that your?
But I've been working on Norwegian on and off since 2005. So let's not hold our breath.
Is that your? I don't want to say your weakest one. Is that your least fluent one, or no?
Actually, no. Right. Among those three, I think it's the best right now because I've been working on it. I have bought a course. There is this thing called Norwegian Society. So we come together like once a month, twice a month, and I actually talk in Norwegian to people. So
Wow.
even if it's a couple of minutes a month, it's progressing. And with Italian, when I hear, I remember, but I can't hold a conversation just yet.
So here's what we're gonna do. Emily's gonna ask you a question. If I hold up a yellow card, you're gonna answer in Norwegian. If I hold up a Orange card, you're going to answer in Turkish. No, I'm not really. We're not
Okay.
really.
Yeah, and also yellow and orange, they look so similar. I would just, I would self-sabotage immediately.
On the camera, they looked exactly the same. I think it was a trick question.
It was a
Yeah,
trick
yeah,
question.
right?
I'll hold up 2 fingers. All right. So seriously, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it in Norwegian and then answer it in English. So the first
try.
question that I'm going to ask is, you're our time management / productivity expert. You have an official title now. Why? Like, why are you an expert in this area? In Norwegian.
Yeah, my Norwegian is not well enough for that.
Oh, well.
But I can say that in Norwegian. So it's jeg kan ikke si det i norsk. På norsk, sorry.
We wouldn't have known the difference.
På norsk.
Right. We wouldn't have known the difference anyway.
I can't say that in Norwegian.
To say it with confidence.
You could have just said anything and we would have believed you.
Exactly.
I will keep that in mind next time.
All right.
Right. Okay. So I love the topic. I read a lot. Like I consume a lot of personal development books and blogs, but a lot of them are like not applicable. Like, you know, there's a crowd that loves getting up at 5 a.m. and I don't identify with those people at all.
Right.
Like I would kill you if you woke me up at 5 a.m. for any reason. Vacations don't count. Like sometimes you have to survive for the flight, but that's it. Not to work, not to do anything else. So people just say, you know, don't multitask or get an accountability buddy. And everybody assumes, like the writers assume, that everybody is the same. And we are not. So I just keep hoarding information and I keep the ones that apply to me and I discard the rest. And I think there are other people like me, you know, who cannot wake up at 5 a.m. or, you know, who don't regularly exercise 3 times a week in the name of, you know, health. And I can't exercise 3 times a week. Like, I'm so bad at consistency.
What? How many? Do you have more than one blog?
I used to have 4, but for a long time, I've been only busy with the writing one. Even that's like 1 post a month right now. I hope to increase that, but I have been busy with, you know, pitching editors, nonfiction article ideas, and working on the novels and learning book marketing and stuff like that. But for a while, I had 4. And, you know, if I actually can manage, I want to keep several blogs.
Wow, that's a lot.
For different audiences. Yeah. I love writing. I just can't keep up because, you know, marketing and admin gets in the way, as you would know.
Yes, that's what I hear.
And now you guys are doing a podcast, which is really, really cool. So maybe you can also share some, you know, bits of productivity wisdom with us. Like, how do you fit in the planning and the recording, you know, editing and marketing?
Yeah, it is. It's been a lot, especially the first, you know, we're newer. So the first couple weeks have been, it's a lot. Yeah. So we're still working out that system, I think.
And Emily's still, like all those things that you said, Emily's still, like, she still has her own, like I have a blog too that I haven't looked at since July. And, but she still blogs all the time. She still sends out her own newsletter all the time, plus ours for this. And so yeah.
Yeah, I have a newsletter too.
Yeah. So there you go.
That also eats a lot of time on its own, right? You know, who do you use? Which company do you go with?
Yes.
How do you engage?
So
Planning
that
the
leads
content.
to
Absolutely.
What do you want to ask her about time, Emily?
I just want to hear all of it, everything that you have to say about it. Do you have, you know, we're specifically talking about writers. What's some of that advice that you feel like can or cannot, like maybe applies to some writers, but not to others, that you are usually cautious of sharing, right? Or maybe that you love to share, but you give caution about?
Oh, right. Okay. So I have like 2 at least. So one of them is, you know, how people tell you, do not multitask. And I'm like, do multitask if you want to, especially if you have ADHD or if you have trouble focusing, or, you know, if you're like stuck, if you are suffering from writer's block. you can multitask. Multitasking doesn't necessarily mean you are literally looking at 3 things at the same time, but for me it's having 100 tabs open at the same time. And sometimes I will flock to certain tabs and sometimes I will flock to others, but keeping them open, it's like inside my mind. So it's better when I have like 100 tabs open. I can't usually just work with only a Word document and call it a day. It doesn't work for me that way.
That's a great analogy.
So if you multitask and if you feel like you can work that way, do it.
That's a great analogy, and it crosses the bridge between people who are pro multitasking and anti multitasking, because really multitasking is just like what you said, having 100 tabs open, but you're only doing one of them at a time, and so
right.
you might spend less time on each one, but you're never like rubbing your head and patting your belly at the same time. You're always doing one specific thing in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. But it can be for 15 minutes, right? Then there's the thing, like, do it for 25 minutes, stop for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Okay, not everybody can do that. Like, imagine you are lost in a scene, right? You're writing fiction and things are going so well, and the last time you checked the hour was 5 hours ago. If this happens, you cannot stop. If you stop after 25 minutes, it will be gone. So sometimes you just have to keep writing and then make up for the breaks later, right? I think there aren't that many hard and fast rules. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
It works better if you know how your mind works, you know how your creativity works, and how your body works. Usually when you need to rest, your body will tell you.
Mm.
You know, your eyes will start to drag, you will start to feel horrible, you know, you feel like you need to eat something, your body will tell you.
Yeah, that's one thing for me. Before we hopped on, we were talking about why we all have glasses. My eyes definitely tell me when it's time to stop, and sometimes I don't listen. But I can't write, like, if somebody says like you need to write such like 3 hours a day or something, like my eyes wouldn't be able to take that sometimes. So or my mental capacity, because sometimes you hit a moment and it's like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm just done. I can't do any more right now. And so it's gonna be different for each person, but it also might be different for each day, like the time of year.
Project. And that's why the tabs are open too. If you're writing and after a scene or during a scene you're blocked and you want to look up something, so do not use it as a reason to procrastinate, right? But use it to keep yourself focused. You can do that. And it doesn't get things, be boring.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Do you teach, Pinar, at all?
I teach English.
So I had a
students.
He really wasn't a mentor. I had a peer, I guess I'll say, but he taught me something that's in line with what you just said and what Emily just said, that we treat different, and Emily teaches as well. We realize that students are different every day, right? So someone will have an off day or they'll have a super on fire day.
Definitely.
But in the classes that Emily and I have taught in the past, there's been 55-minute classes or 80-minute classes. How long are the classes you teach now, Emily?
50.
I mostly teach on Zoom now, so it's 45 minutes.
45 minutes for you. And how long are yours, Emily?
About 50.
So in that 50 minutes, one specific student can change. Like, don't just think they might be different on a Tuesday than a Wednesday, but they can be different at 9 o'clock than they are at 9:30. And that was really eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
Their mood and their like attention level changes from topic to topic, moment to moment, like how tired they are feeling. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. I think I would love to teach like creativity at some point. It just has never materialized yet. But yeah, I love all things writing.
Yeah, I feel that too. I've always taught composition and literature, and I had the opportunity one semester to teach poetry, and it was great.
Oh, so cool.
And my students are about to go through a poetry unit, and so I'm going to like teach them how to, like, they're going to write poems. Because I'm with you. Like, that's something that I would love to be able to do more of.
And you're going to blow their minds with the use of white space on a poem.
What I like to do, I don't know if you do it with your students, but when they get stuck or they get really frustrated with a point, I take examples from other languages, and that makes English look very, very sober. You know, the joke is English is drunk, it should go home. But when you take examples from German and French or other languages, they're like, English is not so bad. Sometimes I even take them from Turkish, so that, okay, you know, get off your high horse. Your language isn't that logical either. So that gets them back on track, and it makes them laugh. So
how old are your students, Pinar?
they are all adults. So I'm certified to teach adults, and now most of them come from the same company. So they're like from 25 to 35. Oh yeah. I tried teaching a kid once, didn't go so well. Because it's not even just me, because I was freelancing through this company, and they're also used to adults, and someone brought their kid and like, okay, teach this girl for 2 hours. And I'm like, I can't make her sit down for 5 minutes. What are you talking about? Like, I don't even have siblings. So I don't have a kid. I don't really have friends who have, you know, kids who go to primary school. So zero experience, and yeah, it was eye-opening. I'm like, okay, so I'm grateful that, you know, my expertise is in adults. Adults can sit down, at least.
Yeah.
That's
very
hilarious.
different. Very different.
Yeah.
What do you? So they're all from the same corporation. What have they taught you? What have your students taught you?
What have my students taught me? Oh, well, they actually taught me that sometimes there can be a company that is not toxic at all. Like, they all like each other. We often talk about each other during the lessons. So I teach one-on-one, but they know each other. They work together. Once we all hang out, like during dinner, and it is so cool. I know their boss, and I know I'm kind of friends with their boss's wife. So that's why I have the whole company. It's a small company. And yeah, they taught me that, you know, not all people who work in an office are miserable. That's the main lesson.
There you go.
I love that.
There are good company cultures. It's not just fiction.
Yes.
That's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
All right. What was your second tip? You said you had two time management tips. What was the second one?
The other one is, not everybody needs an accountability buddy. And accountability doesn't work like as a miracle cure for everyone. So here's the thing. You know, I love, there's this author, Gretchen Rubin. She has this best-selling book called, okay, she has several best-selling books, but I have one. It's Better Than Before, right? It's a book on habits. I can show the book. Can I show the book? I have the book.
Yeah. We do that all the time.
Okay.
Yes, you can show the book.
Right? I know. So this is Better Than Before, right? It's my ultimate, you know, favorite book on habits, because she basically groups people into 4 different personality types. And these people react differently. So, for example, there's a group, when they make a promise to other people, they are really good at keeping them, but they are not necessarily good at keeping the promises themselves, right? So these people do great with accountability buddies, for example. Then there's a group who are good at both, so they can work with or without an accountability buddy. There's a group who questions everything, like they are why. They have to really agree with the reason. And there's another group. This group just objects to everything by principle. And I am kind of like the last two. I'm a combination of the last two. So if I want to do something, you want me to do something, I have to at least have one, you know, good reason why. And by nature, I'm going to be objecting to a lot of stuff. So if we agree that I'm going to call you at, I don't know, 7 p.m. every day, and we each will have written, let's say, 1,000 words. I'm not going to want to call you just because we have agreed on this. The consistency of it alone will put a lot of pressure, and I'm not going to want to do that, because some days I will want to write 100 words. Some days I'm going to write 5,000.
So we're lucky you even showed up today. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Oh no, I'm really no, but I like you, and I like the podcast, and it's about writing, so I was really excited.
Plus, it is.
I had several whys.
We've established it is the end of your day as well. So.
Oh yeah, it's a very nice way to end it.
Yes, that is interesting because, like, I'm in a writing group, and I know that there's a deadline coming up. And sometimes that deadline is inspiring. Like, it actually makes me more productive because I'm like, oh, I need to do this. Other times I'm so busy that I'm going, oh no. And it becomes almost a source of dread. And then when I sit at the computer, I'm not thinking about what I'm supposed to be writing. I'm just thinking that I have to get something in, and it may not be the best thing, but yeah, it's kind of like what we just said. It depends.
And for me, like, I'm writing this for me, right? So if I don't write those words, the negative effect is on me. And if I write them, it benefits me. So I don't really see why anything external is going to make me write better or write more, in a way. But that's me, right? Lots of people can benefit from this, but I think it's weird to give this as this great piece of advice that can benefit everyone. No piece of advice can benefit everyone, apart from sleep enough, eat well. Those, yeah, sure, universal, scientific, do that.
Yes.
But other than that, most things are very dependent on the individual.
Well, that's like we talked recently too about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. And like what you were saying, like your motivation comes from yourself. And so adding all of those external like pressures, if that's not making it intrinsically, like if that's not adding to the intrinsic value, then it's not really making you more motivated than you already are.
Right? But sometimes I'm like, okay, so ask me at the end of the day. I talked to a writer friend if I have sent these pitches, and she asks me, and I want to tell something to her, but sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. It's usually never the same amount that I promised. But it's still something, it gives a start.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. That was such a good conversation.
It was. She has a lot to say. So much so, she'll be back in a future episode.
Yes.
Might be the next one. We might skip a week and then do her again.
And honestly, it could have been 10 episodes. Like, I would have loved to hear more.
Oh, a whole series.
The whole series. And let's have Bob back. And let's just keep having the same guests.
All right. What's next?
Hey, Jon Meyers.
Yes.
Do you know anything about Wales?
Wales, where she's from, where Alison Rayner's from?
No, that's where I was getting ready to spell it. WHAL, yes.
Let's see. I know that, keeping with the theme of this episode, I know Jonah was swallowed by a whale.
Oh, there we go.
The number one VeggieTales
was he, or was
story.
he swallowed by a fish?
Oh, a big fish, true.
A big fish.
According to VeggieTales, it's a whale, isn't it?
According to VeggieTales, it's a whale. So that's the conclusive evidence that we need.
The conclusive evidence, actually, for the crazy big things in the Bible is that Jesus refers back to them, right? And so that's the conclusive evidence, because he'll bring up Noah, which is a crazy story that all these animals got on the thing, or that Jonah survived being inside the belly of the fish. Well, but Jesus believed it, right? And he's the man who rose himself from the dead. And so if I'm gonna go with that guy, so there you go.
There you go. Welcome back to church, everybody. Whales.
Yes.
Okay, so most of these segments, not most, but a lot of them have been about language. Do you know anything about whale language?
Oh, no, I don't.
Awesome. So this is going to be a little preview because I can't go into the full depth of it. But what I'll give you is a little taste. What Alvarez would say would be salt in the mouth. So if you remember my mentor, Dr. Alvarez, say salt in the mouth. Now you're thirsty. Now you're gonna go to the stream and drink. So
I've never heard that phrase. Fabian.
Yeah, it was the teaching phrase. He was like, our job isn't to teach students everything; it's to put salt in the mouth to make them thirsty, and then they go and they want to learn. And yeah,
dude,
write
I love that
down.
Okay.
Anyway,
whales.
So this is my salt in the mouth for whales. Is that there's a documentary called "Secrets of the Whales" by James Cameron. James Cameron. I think it's a National Geographic or Disney, or they're the same now or something. And each episode follows a different species of whale and how they have different cultures depending on where you find them.
Are you going to say they have different accents?
They have different accents.
Oh my goodness. This is fake news. I'm not buying this.
It's not. And so this is a bird a bird side story, is that my husband and I heard a towhee in a different state and it sounded different, and apparently that can happen. But same thing for whales. And it wasn't just that they had different accents, but like they had different ways of, like, their language is a little bit different. The way that they hunted was different. They had different social things that they did, all because the same thing as humans. When we get in our, like, we create these communities, and then we have different culture, and they have matriarchs, and the matriarchs in the whales would teach the next generation, you do things this way, and then they would teach the next generation, you do things this way. And so even though it's the same species, they have different ways of doing things and different voices and languages.
I believe that, because that their behaviors and how they sound, I guess, would be normalized by their surroundings, by their community. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yep. And their diet would depend on their surroundings as well. So like some of them would hunt different kinds of things because that's what they had available. And so there, in this documentary, you can see the parents like training the young ones how to hunt like stingrays and things. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. I will say, if you saw the new Avatar movie, it's all about whales. and I was like, I feel like I just watched that documentary again. So if you liked Avatar, or if you didn't, go watch The Secret of the Whales.
But if you hate the font papyrus, then what?
Then you're doomed.
So, not to get on a side tangent, but so Ryan Reynolds returned to Saturday Night Live. Well, a couple days before we're filming this, and they did Papyrus 2. They did an extension of the hatred of Papyrus.
That's hilarious.
So maybe we'll share that clip on our page just for the fun of it, unless it has a bad word in it. So now what do we do?
So speaking of our page, you can go to our Facebook page and respond to Pinar's call to action, as well as subscribe. If you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to your podcast listener, write us an interview, or not an interview, don't do that. Write a review, share us, all the things.
Cool.
I'm ready.
I'm not. I'm so hesitant about.
I'm ready for the final.
About this.
I'm ready for the final act.
The final act. All right. This game is called. We've already established. I hate the phrase "trust your gut." Yeah. So trust your instinct.
I do too. So yeah, we're good.
So it's gonna be trust your instinct. So I'm going to show you. This was really hard and somewhat confessional. I'm going to show you 3 Instagram pages that 2 of those 3 I follow and 1 I do not follow. So I'm going to show you all 3. You're going to give me your gut reaction, which one you think that I don't follow, right? Then I'm going to tell you. First of all, I never lie, but I have to lie for this game, and some of the future games I might have to lie, and so listeners, don't lie. This is not. Don't use this next minute for modeling of your lifestyle, and but so Emily's gonna say what her gut is of which of the 3 I don't follow, and then I'm going to tell her she's either right or wrong, which may be true or not true. I might be lying. And then she has a minute to ask me questions about all of them, about all of the Instagram pages. And then she can see if she wants to change her answer or keep her initial instinct gut answer. So you're going to pick one. You're going to question me for a minute. And then you're going to say, I'm going to keep my original answer, or I'm going to change my answer. No, it's really the third one you don't follow, or the fourth.
Do I have limitations on the kinds of questions I can ask?
No, you can ask me anything.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
So the first one is, I got to learn how to share here.
And for the podcast listeners, we're going to explain.
Yeah, I'll explain. Well, you'll know because I'm going to tell you what it is.
Gotcha.
It is. I gotta hit share screen first. I was watching Dana Carvey and David Spade, and they were doing the same thing. Not the same game, but they were like, what button do I press? What? So I don't feel bad. All right, so now I'm sharing a screen, and the first screen, close your eyes. All right, open your eyes. You didn't see the top, did you?
No.
Okay, so at the top it says whether I follow it or not, so I had to scroll down a little bit, and because that would answer the question. This is Birch Bark Books, Louise Erdrich. I think it's Erdick. Honestly. So that's the first one.
Okay.
The second one is Bookmark Bookstore in Ludington, Michigan. You can open your eyes now. Can you see that?
And of course, there's smoked white fish chowder on the first page.
Yes. And there's Hungarian mushroom soup. And there's some little Easter bunnies looking at books. And there's the bookstore. And there's some coffee. And then stop sharing. And then now the third one.
By the way, while he's doing this, I don't remember if we clarified that this is going to be different every week. Like next time, I'm going to do a game for him. He's going to do a different game. Like it's going to be, there's going to be variety, and you can play along with us.
You should be playing along this whole time. And if you don't like this game, then you'll never see it again anyway. So here you go. Here you go. All right. Fitness guru Prima Tesh. And so, here's her different friends. Here's her some workout routines. That's her dad, John Tesh, right there. If you know John Tesh from Entertainment Tonight. All right. So your gut instinct of which ones I don't follow. So you have Birch Bark Books in Minneapolis. You have Ludington, Michigan's Bookmark Books, and you have Prima Tesh Fitness Guru. What is your gut reaction?
My gut reaction is the first one, that maybe you did that because I said that I may have put Louise Erdrich on my favorite list if I had read more of her stuff and knew if I really liked her. So that's my theory. I ask you questions.
Ask me questions.
Okay.
Grill me about all 3 of those pages. Have you been
to that bookstore?
Which one?
Birch Books.
I have not.
Have you been to the one in Michigan?
I've been there many times.
Ah.
So when I said I lie for the answer, I was supposed to say whether her guess was right or wrong. I forgot to do that part. And that's the lie. All of these answers to these questions will be true.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'd be pointless.
Yes.
So what? So
Okay, so
what
you
was your
haven't been
guess?
to the one in Minneapolis. You have been to the one in Michigan.
But wait, what
And
was your guess? I have to agree or disagree with your guess
my guess
first.
was the first one.
So I have to tell you this may be true or may not be a lie that I do not follow that one.
Okay.
Now you ask your questions, which you've established.
Okay. And then the fitness guru, you said that you knew who her dad was.
John Tesh from Entertainment Tonight. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
That's her dad.
And do you like do you work out? Do you do any of the routines that she suggests?
So it used to be $11.99 a month to join her workout thing. During the pandemic, she made it free and it was on YouTube.
Oh, gotcha.
And then last November, it just disappeared. So now I don't see that it's a pay version or a free version. And
Yeah, you definitely follow that one.
and it's also do you know who Gib Gerard is?
No.
Gib Gerard is so John Tesh and Connie Selica. Gib Gerard is Prima Tesh's stepbrother. And he's hilarious. He's an actor and he's hilarious. He's Gil Gerard's son, who is also an actor.
Just more names that I don't know.
So there you go. So he's on the workout show as well.
Okay.
And so you think that I definitely know this one because I know those things. Like I couldn't know those anyway. Like I couldn't know all that anyway.
You could, because you could also follow it on Facebook, or you could look at the website. But I'm gonna stick with my instincts. I'm gonna go with the first one.
Okay. Have you exhausted all your questions?
Have you read anything by Louise Irvin?
I have.
Is it a bookstore that you aspire to go to one day?
Yes. Do you know why?
Have you? Why?
Do you know about this bookstore?
No.
So she owns it, but comes and goes as she pleases, obviously. And but all the dogs work there. And so if you go to their
that's like Parnassus.
Yeah, so if you go to the website that has all the dogs that work there, the Ludington Bookmark Bookstore, if you scroll down further, which I'm not going to go back to sharing the screen, you can't look because it might say I follow it at the top. And if you know what I mean, we'll do that at the top. No peeking. They also have dogs on their page, but they have customer dogs on their page.
So, but have you been to Parnassus in Nashville?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, they also have dogs.
Yeah. True.
Yep. All right, I'm sticking to my guns. If that's the phrase.
I've forgotten what it is already. No guns.
I'm going with the first one.
So you say I have not followed the first one.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Wrong.
Yes.
I don't follow the Ludington one. I've been there. I've probably been there not a million times, but I've probably been there 20 times, and I've never followed them. That's what made this game so hard. Is because like everything I could think of, I already followed.
Well, that was like a good one though, because you'd been there, and so I just assumed like, oh yeah, he's been there, he follows. So there you go, you got me.
There you go. Oh,
nice.
I forgot to tell you what the prize was.
Oh yeah, what's my prize? Is it non-existent points? Wait, I don't get a prize. I failed.
This is the prize you lost. Abraham Lincoln's joke book.
Abe Lincoln's joke book.
It's his original joke book. He carried this around with him. What? The night he was shot, this was in his pocket. There you go. What? That's what you lost. Abraham Lincoln's joke book. There you go. Well, I hope you all at home played along with this.
I hope they did too. All right. Until next time.
We
couldn't have done it without you.